Good morning, traders. Welcome to the pre-market analysis that we do every single Wednesday via YouTube. This is Spartan speaking. I want to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown on what's going to happen this morning before I pass it along. Once I'm done speaking here, Beth's going to come on, give you a little bit of a breakdown of the macro environment, any news events that have happened over the course of the evening or that are happening this morning that makes sense to be looking at. Should be going through any bigger picture items, ETFs, individual names that are related that make sense as well to be looking at today. Once that's finished, I'm going to come back on. We're going to be looking at individual names that are gapping up, gapping down. We'll go through the news associated with those gap up, gap downs. We'll go through the SPY and the FANG from a technical point of view, build an action plan for those names. And then what I'll do is I'll pass it over to South Beach. He'll come on, give you a breakdown of what he's looking at from an analyst point of view, individual names that he's looking at as well. And then we'll do a quick little recap of those individual names that I went through this morning, as well as the SPY and the FANG, and we'll be ready for the open. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Beth, and I'll talk to you guys in a little bit. Beth, you ready? It's all yours.
Indeed. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my friends. Welcome. Pre-market here, Wednesday morning at SpartanTrading.com. We do this every day, but on Wednesdays, we open it up to the public and share our knowledge and what our thoughts are for the coming day. Okay. Let's talk. So out of Germany, the inflation rate was as expected. It's rare that they don't get it, the forecast correct, right? This was actually kind of interesting. There was a miss out of China in terms of new loans, which is notable. And we know that this is a driving force for them in terms of stimulating their economy. They want constant continuation of this loan building. They even missed on the social financing. So there was a lot of misses. The money supply came down 8.3%. So there's a lot of things going on. We do have our own inflation numbers coming out this morning. We'll see how that plays out. We have kind of like dueling Fed heads right now with talking about sooner with the tapering, and one yesterday said we needed multiple non-farm payroll numbers. A few is what he said. So what does that mean? Like 1, 2, 3, what does it take? I still maintain that if this, through reconciliation, this bill goes through that, the $3.2 trillion infrastructure, whatever you want to call it, the Fed's going to have to act sooner rather than later, just because of the amount of liquidity that's going to come into the market. All right, that's my thoughts. Okay, so China. So you're seeing a rotation out of the names that the investors feel the government will be going after, and into more safer, like renewable energy, et cetera, which makes a lot of sense, right? We know that with the NEV, which is their renewable energy. And it is actually, I was doing a little bit of research here. The vast majority, in terms of electric vehicle, you can't invest in except BYD. But here's a list of it, and it's through Hong Kong. And this is actually GM owns this company, so, well, is an investor in this company. So that tells us that that's where money's going to flow right now. And it's very hard for us to play it, unless you're going to be trading through the Hong Kong exchange. Okay. It is $3.5 trillion budget. We'll see. Like I say, if this does go through with reconciliation, right, then you would see, I think, tapering sooner rather than later. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. All right. What knocked oil down, guys? This White House to call for OPEC, and also we're producing more than what the market expected as well domestically. So those are obviously headwinds for the oil group. We have to see whether that pivot holds, the 65.50. Now, this is another theme that we've been talking about is foreign direct investments into China, right? And I think this is going to be what the Chinese government is going to see, that companies who would normally invest, like asset managers, et cetera, in China are basically not pulling the plug, but not basically bringing any new money in. Well, we haven't seen the FDI number yet. That's the foreign direct investment number out of China, and it should start to crater. I don't know how far it's going to go, but it's something we can look at. Okay, so news. Wall Street Journal saying people aren't wanting to go out to the restaurants the way we thought they would be wanting to go out to restaurants. Big deal. We'll see how it plays out. And you know, we're getting pockets of cracking in terms of with this Delta variant consumer reaction. So one would expect it to go back into we would expect them to go back into these closing names or rotating out of some of these opening names. Right? And here's the story about the US crude falling less than what people had expected. So all of, like I said, this is a headline. All right, so this was yesterday. This was Evans was saying, no, we want more than a couple. We want a few. Well, you've already got two. I mean, what do you want? 800,000+ NFP. What do you want? I think it's ridiculous. As far as matching goes, they'll do whatever it takes to get them on board. And here's the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure. All right, this is absolutely crazy. The delivery time is 20 weeks. And when you go beyond that as well, there was on CNBC, I don't know if you saw it, they were talking about Chinese shipping rates, the supply demand, containers, transportation costs, going from $1,200 a container to $15,000 to $19,000 a container. And the moral of the story is if you want to get something for your holidays or whatever, birthdays, yada, yada, you better do it now because the shelves will be empty. I've already started to see that. Right? Now, this is a theme that I've been talking about, and it's an opinion, right? This woman, Leslie Norton, saying, and she and I agree, that basically money's going to peel off of the US and go. I think it's going into Europe more than Asia Pacific Rim, but we'll see how that plays out. Okay, Kathy O'Gall. Barron's has a feature article on it. She didn't get out of everything, but she did get out of certain funds. So instead of having across the board, so what she's looking at is basically healthcare digitization, you know, like our teledoc sort of thing. And it's kind of limiting, but it would be basically this ping on healthcare. Baba and JD all have healthcare platforms. Okay? And she's basically fine-tuned it as to where she wants to put that. Okay? And that's her telemedicine narrative. Okay, I get asked this a lot. Okay, go to CNBC, here's a link, it is right there. Just Google it, okay? Why, when interest rates go up, tech stocks sell off? It's basically cost of funds future. In a lot of these, this discounted cash flow. Right? And basically, when you it peels off from these higher beta tech names as the cash flow count gets more expensive. Okay? So like I say, there's a reason for it, and it makes sense. And it's just something that we have to deal with interest rates. Okay, so let's see who are our top dogs here. Let's see what's going on. You know the drill, 70+%. Splunk upgraded. UBS, GXO, MPW, PUBM. Let's see if we get any call volume in any of these names. If we do, we should be on Splunk, right? I obviously will follow that. Okay, yesterday, healthcare was down, real estate was down, and tech was down. And we're going to talk about tech a little bit to see what's going on there. Right? Okay, a big divergence in percentage of members above the 50-day moving average. So if you look at the composite as a whole, and you look at the Nasdaq 100, we talk about this all the time, right? Breath is negative. It's a headwind, and it's a huge red flag. Okay, But this is actually going back to 2001, but I'd like to just further back. But anyways, in terms of the spread, it's at all-time, almost close to all-time highs. Now, what does that mean? Nasdaq 100 short-term, not bullish. Now, it's not horrific. I mean, we're not talking about like 87%. But if you go 6 months out to a year, that's when the sweet spot is, and that's when the tailwinds can be. So sloppy choppy for the next 3 months, potentially. For the next month in particular. Let's see how it plays out. And here's the Nasdaq composite when after percentage of member spreads peak above 25%. Negative, negative, negative. All right. So this kind of is a, it's telling us that short-term sloppy choppy with a bias to the downside. And you can see that continues. This goes back once again to 2001. And then as you get farther out, basically, we'll see how that plays out. It becomes more bullish this spread. And here's the S&P as well. So short-term negative, bearish. And this is 73%. So 1 month out for the S&P, that's looking a little bit ugly. Just note. Okay. Intermediate term optimism is starting to go up again, but it's still kind of a headwind, It's a divergence, right? Making all-time highs, and yet here we are down here as opposed to up here. So that's a huge red flag. Here's the cues, guys, on the 200-day, the breath, 200-day, which stocks. This is notable, meaningful, and you can see here on the 50-day, the percentage are greater than the 50-day. So when you go out to the 200-day, things are getting a little bit ugly. This S&P breath, it continues to go higher, right, with the 50-day average. And then you can see it continues to go down with the 200-day average. So this is notable, right? Same narrative here with the IWM on the 200, right? And then we're starting slowly to hook up here. And this is basically a catch-up type trade that we would see the IWM small caps. Now the question is going to be whether this is going to be the small caps rallying, or is it going to be the Qs and the S&P selling off more so than the small caps? Don't know. Okay. Here's our ranking chart. As you can see, gold miners down here, and then you see financials, basic materials up top here, financials up here in terms of money flows coming out into, and then healthcare tech out of, right? Here's the energy Russell and the green, so that's, a bounce is expected. And here's the Swiss market top dog, financials after that. And here's our country, right? The green means that it's a buying opportunity. The red means Argentina. Don't cry for me. We don't want to be in that one right now. It's in the mid-90s. It should sell off. And if you can see here, the United States is mid. And this is what's really fascinating. If you look at like the CNN Fear and Greed Index and all this stuff, they've all, stuff that we would normally look at as an indicator, it's not working. So that's another huge red flag for me. On the commodity side, lumber continues to be taken to the woodshed. And then sugar, cotton, and the sugar in particular has to do with Brazil. We'll go from there. All right, heat map. As you can see, this is what it looks like right now. We don't have anything single digits, so these tickers, these ETFs are not a big deal. But as you can see, here's the Argentina, yada, 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 yada. So this isn't a bad heat map overall. But, it's not inspiring. All right, let's go to Elliott Wave, right? Avi Gilbert and his crew, fantastic website. If you're looking for that, that's where Carolyn Board is now, the Fibonacci Queen. She contributes to that as well. So here we have with the INX, looking for Alt 4. See, this is the bomb. I mean, you can put an Alt 4 here, or it can go up here. So you got your bases covered right here. So it's like, cheating. I just think it's cheating. But you can see that, this is what they're saying in terms of the count. It's not a clean count. Okay, so here's the Nasdaq, the NQ, right? Same thing. You got an Alt B, Alt C, or potential you know, 2 to 3. What do you do? I don't know. And here's the Russell, same thing. 2 to 3 possibly, or 4 to 5 possibly, or B to C possibly. I don't know. That's where we are. Let's see what the flow guy has to say. So let's see if this is up to date. So these are, right? This is nothing new, really. It's not a big deal, but it is more than what we've been seeing, but it's not a big deal. So Citibank had these put sweeps going through, guys. Really interesting, right? And then we have this 2023 leaps. So, you know, because it's so close to being, you know, at the money, I take it. So AMD had multiple prints. So there was buying yesterday. That's notable. So we nailed the low yesterday, got out of AMD puts. We'll see how it plays out. Marriott had that one thing. Pfizer, you know, this is my top dog conviction trade right now. Right? We'll see how that plays out. Canoe, this was really interesting, and this was a ponytail pimp. I missed that one, but it was kind of interesting. So there's some really interesting stuff. So on Moderna, guys, this is not enough to give it some tailwind. Yeah. Okay, let's look at the DXN, still consolidated within this multi-month range. Yay, nothing new. Here's the government bonds. Yields are up across the board. Here in the US, yield curve flattening. Canada yields are up across the board in Europe, UK, and up in Japan, Australia, and down in Hong Kong. All right, 210. Yield curve is widening. Notable. See how that continues. Here's the 5-year. This is the sweet spot here in terms of tapering. It's above the mid, getting into the upper, starting to get into the upper quadrant. We'll see if that can continue. Our TLT is almost in the money. So we'll look at that. German 10-year rates are bouncing. Let's see if it can reclaim this on the negative side. Here's the German 10, US 10, right? This is actually flattening. Well, not flattening, it's steepening to the downside. Okay. Here's the Chinese. Okay, so right now they've got it, this is the monthly, holding inside this range. Okay, and we'll see with the currency as well, whether they're going to what they're going to do with interest rates. Right? If they want to get, you know, those loans cooking, they would probably break this bottom end, which we'll see. Right? All right, here's the US 10-year. As you can see right here, it's curling up. Maybe we're going to get one of those cup and handle doodahs. Here's the Chinese US 10. Okay, let's look at the dollar. This is the worrisome component right here, guys. We're doing a little bit of a double top here on the monthly. Okay, and it does tend to do that. Right? See that here. And, this is not what we want to see. We want to see the dollar go down, and it's not working that way. Okay. Chinese yuan is the only thing we care about. If we pop this top, this is notable, guys, that they would be devaluing the currency. Well, weakening the currency. Devaluation would be so. That's a little bit too strong. But that would tell us once again that things are not doing well in China. All right, let's take a look at the stock futures. As you can see, a little bit of a mixed bag here. Overseas, they're mostly up, right? And then a little bit of a sloppy choppy over in the Pacific Asia. DAX, 15,806. Let's do it. Still waiting. Doesn't happen. And once again, this is snake coiling. So we really have no idea how that's going to happen, right? All right, so we go from there. All right, here's Fez. This is one that you know that I'm in and like very much. It is also trying to get going. It's jiggy going. We'll see if it can reclaim this and hold above the 61.8% fib, then pop the top and then start to go higher. I still think in terms of risk reward, you want to have exposure overseas. I do have positions in Fez, and I added to it on this dip down here. See how that plays out. EFA small caps, this is worrisome, this is a conundrum. All right, so the EFA continues to, this is ex-US, continues to do well and slowly is the operative word, grind higher. And here you can see, here's the EFA, IWM. And we want this double top to hold and then basically move lower. And that would tell us, well, triple top now, that indeed that we are going to start a leg up on the IWM. DEM, nothing much there for us. A shares is bouncing nicely, gap filling. Let's see if we can break the downtrend line there. So here's CQQQ, not as strong a look, right? So financials, and this is heavily weighted on the A shares. So you see the money rotating into financials out of some of these names that would be under the microscope with the Chinese regulatory agencies, right? Here's QQQ, CQQQ. This is notable. It basically sat right here on the close for last month. So it's an inside candle monthly, and it should actually hold. The question's going to be is something like this. Are we going to have this sort of price action and start to go higher? That would be obviously negative for the Chinese stocks. Here's the K-Web A shares, kind of still on that cliff waterfall effect. The question's going to be is, we're kind of in no man's land right now. We do have a little bit of an extension right here. Yeah. Question's going to be is, do we hold up here? This is what it would look like. So this is monthly. So if you are playing anything like K-Web, et cetera, it's going to be multiple months before we get some sort of semblance of a breakthrough on that. So we really haven't gotten out of the bear flag yet. See if that can happen, right? Here's FANG. Wow. Here are the different sectors. XLY coming down, biotech, IBB at the highs, XLB moving higher, materials. You see core consumer staples rolling over, energy rolling over, trying to bounce but unable to reclaim. Financials are starting to go up. Okay, healthcare rolling over, housing rolling over. Industrials, this is really interesting. Unable to break this double top, rolling over. So this is the minings, and that also is rolling over. I'm still in my steel play, SLX. We'll just have to see how that, I know that Twins was talking about ALB Albemarle, which we really did miss. Here's the oil producers. This is actually looking okay. Here's the REITs rolling over, XLK rolling over, SMH, potential rollover, and here's the retail, right, looking not good. Okay. And here's the utilities at the upper end of the quadrant. Okay, so what do we got? XLK, still holding this weekly uptrend line, but next week you can see by the steepness it actually may break, and if that's the case, then one would expect that we'd probably come down here 149 and possibly 148 on that, right? All in all, guys, we got a quadruple top. Okay, so that's a red flag. That's a headwind. Does that mean we're gonna, crash and burn? No, but we've got a quadruple top. So this is, we'll see it. I think the bottom side has to be tested, and the question is going to be, okay, is this enough of a test, or do we have to go all the way back down here? Okay. Welcome once again for those of you joining us. Get here. It's time for me to pass it on this phone. Are you ready, sir?
Just need about a minute here, Beth, please.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, let's look at XLY. So this is the consumer discretionary. It also is looking top-ish and the potential for it to come down to this extension. So all of these are saying, okay, we're at the upper end of the quadrant until we break out this upper end of the quadrant. You know the rules, right? Okay. So here's XLY against XLK, which is kind of interesting, right? We've actually got a little bit of a double bottom here and potential for XLY, okay, consumer discretionary, overtake XLK, which is the tech sector. I think this is fascinating on the weekly. If we break this top, this is last week's high, we could get a nice tailwind there. And it's going to be interesting just to see that. As you can see. So this is what I like to look at, these opportunities. So this is the XLK, right, against the SPY. And XLK is actually starting to topping, notable, fascinating. Okay, so once again, we have a red flag in terms of the tech sector, that we have a potential breakdown here going on. And XLK tech names will roll over and the SPY will hold up better. Really interesting. Let's look at the consumer staples. This also is trying to break out. I mean, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 popping. But these do tend, when you get these sort of price action, it does tend to pop the top. And it's trying to pop the top on the consumer staples side. Interesting, right? So let's look at this against the consumer discretionary. We're almost at the mid, so there's nothing here for us, but I like to look at it on the extreme. So if it's up top here, looking at a trade to basically sell at XLP and buy XLY. But if we do start to go higher, that tells us, just like the tech side, the consumer discretionary, which is basically Amazon and Tesla, right? That something's going on here. Let's take a look at retail. This is the 3 times RETL. It's flagging. It's a pretty obvious flag. Very pretty, right? Let's see what happens here, whether it can actually break out. So this would be a huge tailwind for retail if we do. And they're pretty. Goodness gracious. Beautiful. So XOT is the same flagging, but not as pretty. But you get the gist here. We can pop this double top, then we have some room on the upside. And we'll see how that plays out. Now, I did notice, like yesterday, Nike, there was some put sweeps coming in, which I thought very fascinating, right? And some call sweeps as well. But that's one of my go-tos if we get gaps. So the things I love to see when it sweeps, guys, like gaps, GPS, when I see a call sweep on that, short term, I love to follow that, and I post that trade. Nike, let's see what we can get on that short term. I like to follow that as well. Right? I'm in others, tickers, Dick's Sporting, I'm in TJX. I mean, all kinds of different ones, which I think are fun. Right?
All right, Beth, I'm ready to go.
All right, have fun, guys.
Hey, everybody, good morning. What's going on? Let me just pop up a screen share here. There we go. So if you guys are new to the chat, make sure to click the Discord link that's emailed to you. If you don't see it, it's going to be in your junk mail. I'll go through the onboarding stuff when you guys do come in, when we do end the YouTube stream in a little bit. So we'll go through that at the end of that today. Anyways, guys, pre-market tickers on watch. Let's take a look at what we got going on today. Individual names that we're looking at: Coin, Wix, UPST, Fubo, WW, Mogo. So basically all earnings plays. Coin earnings beat EPS and revs, multiple price target upgrades, stocks gapping up. Wix earnings beat EPS and revs, year-over-year growth 34%, Q3 guidance lowered, 2021 guidance lowered, stocks gapping down. UPST earnings beat EPS and revs, Q3 guidance raised, 2021 guidance raised, stocks gapping up. Fubo earnings in line, EPS rev beat, year-over-year growth 196.3%, Q3 guidance raised, 2021 guidance raised, stocks gapping up. WW earnings miss, EPS and revs, year-over-year growth negative 6.7%, gapping down on that. And then lastly, Mogo reported Q2 sales of 13.7 million, up from 7.62 million year-over-year. Raise Q4 subscription service revenue growth from 80 to 100% to 100 to 110%. So effectively raising guidance there. Stocks gapping up nicely. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. Looks like I'm popping on the SPY. I'm probably on CPI data right now. Alrighty, let's take a look at what we got going on today. Coin and Wix. All right, so Coin, Wix, take a look at these two. Coin, my levels are already done from before. So still breaking through the range to the upside on the daily. Let's get rid of this. Nice little rebound from last day, pushing back into the pivot point. We'll see what happens going forward. We do have room for continuation to the upside today. That's for sure, especially off those earnings. Let's take a look at this thing intraday here. So what do we got? We got the pivot to the upside today going to be this level right here. And what's the pivot? Just a major support or resistance level on the daily, at which pivots the price action. And in that case, that level is going to be 277.88. Level holds, we got room to the recent range high, 282.37. That level breaks, we can see 286.67 on the upside. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback on coin towards the 267.69 support, and that flat level breaks. We got room back towards 259.77 on the downside. Overall on coin, going to be leaning bullish. Looking for continuation to the upside today if that pivot point can hold to the upside. So we hold that level, we should see continuation higher, in my opinion. So that's what I'll be looking for, leaning bullish on that name for continuation higher, bullish neutral. So basically a grind is what I'm looking for to the upside. And SPY is absolutely ripping on that data, guys, which is great. All-time highs being tested, 443.74, next resistance on the upside. Okay. And we'll go through the SPY a little bit more later. All right, Wix, pivot to the downside today. Let's take a look at, well, first and foremost, what's going on. Obviously, unwinding to the downside, a little bit of a EMA support break. We broke that inverted head and shoulders the other day. We're down at 231 a share right now, which is we're basically back into this range support area. Actually, just breaking below it. That was the low of the day, at least. Let's see where we got room to. Mark that. We'll mark there. Quite the amount of range on this thing today. The resistance. All right, let's take a look at what we got going on. So pivot to the downside today will be 233.81. That level is able to hold 242.37 to the 255.55 is where we have room to on the upside. Unable to hold, we got room towards 223.61. And if that level breaks, I'm gonna have to actually zoom out here. Let's take a look at the daily. That level breaks, we got room towards, so 223.61, and then below that, the 213.12 area on the downside. So quite a bit of room lower if we're unable to hold the support. Going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today, looking for pop topping for it to continue to unwind on the downside. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Lowering guidance, both Q3 and 2021, never good, but typically you see continuation lower. So I'm thinking that we should grind lower. We haven't seen huge sell-offs when we see these types of earnings, but we've definitely seen them grind lower. So that's what I'll be looking for today. Coin and Wix. All right, let's take a look at the next two guys. UPST, Fubo. So UPST gapping up pretty big here. Okay. 180.95, that's the upper end. Okay. Keep an eye on coin, guys, making the next leg up. All right, guys, 166.04 pivot, levels able to hold 173.22 to 180.95 on the upside will be tested. Unable to hold 158.25 151.66 on the downside for UPST. Overall on that name, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral. Sorry, not bullish neutral, bullish side today. Looking for a continuation push higher. So reclaim of the pivot, continuation push to the upside. Definitely looks good for continuation there. Let's take a look at Fubo. All right, should be good with that. Maybe get one more level above 35s. I think we'll have room. It really starts to spread out above that 35 level. So that's some big resistance. Okay. Okay, so let's do this. That's a little better. Here's your 35s. 35, 24. All right, guys, 32.71 pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold 33.77. 35.24 will be tested. Unable to hold 31.61 at 30.76 on the downside on Fubo. Going to be leaning bullish on Fubo today, looking for a continuation grind higher. Want to see that pivot hold in order for that to occur. So that's going to be the main key that I'll be watching for this morning out the gate. Obviously, pivot breaks, it will come in on some profit taking. So keep an eye on that pivot point. That's UPST, that's Fubo. Now, let's take a look at the next two names, guys. Weight Watchers, Mogo. Let's take a look at Weight Watchers here. Alrighty, so obviously gapping down in the bottom range support here. What's below this 22.38? It is 20.30, 20.52. Okay. So 24.25, guys, pivot to the downside today on Weight Watchers. If this level is unable to hold, we got room towards 22.38. If that level breaks, 22.52 will be tested on the downside. Able to reclaim that 24.25, going to be looking for continuation towards 25.72 to 27.50 on the upside. Overall, on Weight Watchers, going to be leaning on the bearish side today. Looking for a continuation lower if the pivot's unable to hold. So obviously be watching that level. Don't think you're going to have a ton of range to the downside, but certainly does have some room in my opinion, for for continuation there. All right, so that's Weight Watchers. Let's take a look at Mogo. So Mogo basically pushing on the earnings, raising guidance, still a bit of a former runner, as we can see here. So we got room to today. A couple of things. Got to mark the 50 MA. Mark that area. I'll mark too high. All right, let's take a look at this thing intraday. This doesn't have like an insane amount of range by any means intraday so far, but there's potential here. $6.95 pivot. This level is unable to hold. You got room towards $6.55 to $6 on the downside. Able to hold. We got room towards $7.50. If that level breaks, we can see further continuation into the $7.95 area on the upside. Overall on Mogo, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today. Looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point is able to hold. So we can hold that level. We got room for continuation to 750, 695. Looks like it should hold up. I mean, the earnings were pretty solid. You didn't get a huge movement out the gate after earnings for one of these former runner stocks, which is typically a better sign for continuation. So thinking that we could see a sustainable push on the name today if the pivot's able to stay intact. All right, let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG, guys. So market obviously ripping to the upside. All right, let's get the next resistance to the upside. 2. Oops, what recent range? What am I doing? All right, 442.80 pivot to the upside today on the SPY. Levels able to hold 443.74. That level breaks 444 to 42 on the upside will be tested. Unable to hold. Look for a pullback on the SPY into the 442.08 to 441.03. Going to be leaning bullish. Looks like we want to take out the all-time highs, get continuation higher right now. We'll see if that's able to be sustained in the off the open, I should say. But overall, right now, it does look bullish for continuation. Market's being bullishly consolidating on the daily for continuation to the upside. So that is what I'll be looking for right now at the moment. Let's take a look at this. Actually, just quickly flip this over to a daily chart. I like to do this just so you can see what the heck I'm talking about as we go through the FANG. So you can see, obviously, big bullish ascending triangle here, holding all EMA support. Does look good. We'll see what happens. We've been seeing failure the last couple days of testing all-time highs, so definitely keeping that in mind, but we are certainly grinding higher slowly. Range has been pretty tight this week as well. And we're just testing the top of that range right now. So we'll see if we can break and confirm. Confirmation will be key. All right, let's take a look at Apple, guys. What do we got here? Obviously a big flag pattern that's formed on the daily. We did get a test of it yesterday and a fail. Pretty much right in the morning. And we could potentially have room up to it again. Out the gate this morning. Pivot to the upside is going to be the 146.33 spot. That level is able to hold. We got room for continuation 147.02, 148.07. Of course, we'll have to break that downtrend as well. That's on the daily. Unable to hold 145.10. And if that level is unable to hold, it breaks 144.22 on the downside. Overall on Apple, leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push higher. I want to see it retest that downtrend, and then we'll see if we can break through it. It does have room to test it this morning, so we'll see what happens. Of course, pivot will also be key. All right, that's Apple. Let's take a look at Amazon. $33.41.88. Pivot to the actually. Nope. Change that. Pivot's gonna be 320.17 to the downside. Levels unable to hold. We got room towards 32.89, 86. Levels able to hold. Look for push back to 33.41.68. So we are testing a bottom end range support level pretty quickly here on Amazon. Right now, I'm going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today, looking for a continuation lower into the bottom end of that range. So recent range lows essentially, and then we'll see whether or not it's able to hold. So that is Amazon. Let's take a look at Netflix. So Netflix, what do we got? We got a failure at the 50 MA yesterday. Oops. 15s. Okay. I'm actually going to move this pivot up towards that 50 EMA, which is 518.68 area. So pivot to the downside today is going to be 518.68. If this level is unable to hold, we see a retest of the support, which is where it's at right now, 515.52. That level breaks. 511.53 will be retested. Able to hold, look for pushback to 521.84 to 526.83 on the upside. Overall on Netflix, I'm actually be leaning on the bullish neutral side. I want to see a retest of that 50 MA. And then we can see what's what, whether or not we roll over or we get a continuation higher. So that is Netflix. Let's take a look at Facebook. Pivot is 362.46. He's got a little bit of a flag forming on the hourly. That level holds room towards 365.13, 371.25, a lot of room above that. Unable to hold 360.32 to 358.12 on the downside, leaning bullish, neutral on Facebook. Gonna be looking for a grind higher into the top of that range, and then we can see what's what and if it can actually break out or not. So retest essentially that 365.13 is what I want to see up the gate. Let's take a look at Google. I'm impressed with SPY staying power up here. It's extended intraday, obviously, but it is off news. But yet it's, you know, it's just not budging, right? It's impressive. 27.39.13 pivot on Google today. That level is able to hold. They got room towards 27.62.73. Unable to hold 27.13.08 on the downside. Overall on Google, leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push towards all-time highs. Been stair stepping higher, and I think that does continue until we test the all-time highs, and we'll see if we can break out of those as well on that test. All right, that's Google, guys. Let's take a look at the VIX, the IWM, and the QQQ. All right, so VIX pivot 1664. Levels unable to hold. We got room towards 1552 on the downside. Be watching this level with direction on the market as always. Able to hold. We look for a pushback to 1753 on the upside. We shall see what happens there. Take a look at the QQQs. So Qs, guys, what do we got? Test of EMA support yesterday, nice bounce back this morning. Pivot to the upside is going to be the, let's see, we're going to change that 367.46. Levels able to hold. We got room towards 368.90 at 370.22. Unable to hold 366.57, 366.52 on the downside will be tested. And going to be leaning bullish neutral on the Qs for now. We'll see if we can hold the pivot. I think we got a little bit of a pullback, retest it out the gate, and then we'll see if we can grind back up towards that recent range high. EMA support's intact on the daily, held up, so that's a good thing. And yeah, we'll see what happens. So that's Qs. Let's take a look lastly at the IWM. So IWM, guys, back above the 50 MA on the daily, which is the pivot, of course. Today on the upside, I do like the IWM for continuation higher. It does do these head fakes to the downside almost daily, and it gets a nice reversal, or has been the last couple of days at least. 222.89 pivot level holds. We got room towards 224.32. Unable to hold 221.77 on the downside. Overall on the IWM, leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push higher. Simple as that. All righty. So that's a SPY. That's a FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. I'm going to go ahead and pass over to South Beach while I type up the pre-market action plan. And I will talk to you guys shortly. South Beach, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Hey guys, good morning. Okay, hump day. Let's see what we got going on. A lot of things changed when that CPI came through, so we'll look at that as well. All right, hold on, let me just find it here. Okay, so bonds, where are we at? Okay, so we got the 10-year at 1.347. It was up 0.03 earlier, and then that CPI number came in line, so they took the bond back to unchanged on the day effectively. All right, but we've had a big push off the bottom. I think the bottom's in, but we'll see. You know, I'm like a broken record, guys. Equities are the only game in town. You know, you could buy equities, you could buy Bitcoin, you could buy real estate, but you can't buy bonds. And bonds are the number one, you know, investment other than equity. So they take money away from equities right now. You got to be a dope to buy these things. okay? Unless you want to lock in losses, then by all means, be my guest. Okay, inflation running higher than the bond yield. So what do you need to know? 10-year is unchanged in London. Germany, it's down a little bit. They're at a minus 0.58. What else is there? So everybody else is kind of, the bond is down just a tinch, okay? That's basically it. All right, let's look at commodities. All right, oil's down again. All right, they're down, what? 60 cents. And, you know, in a range, 65, 75, I would say, okay? So we like we like commodities trading in a range because it lets companies plan effectively, right? Okay, so that's that. Copper, same thing, in a range, 436, top of the range, 475, bottom of the range, $4, right smack in the middle. Also good for equities, okay? Agricultural commodities are flattish. Lumber keeps trending down. We're down to 505 from 1750 and up from 300. So we're getting back to some degree of normalcy there. Okay, let's look at the currency market. Dollars down against North America, down against the yen, down against the Chinese currency, and down against the euro. Why? The drunken sailors of the Democrats want to spend, adds liquidity, reduces the effectiveness of the dollar, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What do you need to know? Okay, Bitcoin's up this morning. That's probably partially because of the dollar, I would say. But Bitcoin, you know, bounced off the bottom, 40,000. Above 40,000, I think it's fine. Okay, you got decent EMA support across the board for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and these things look in fuego at the moment. Okay. Bond market we went over. Let's look at the foreign markets. What do we have? We have the FTSE up 0.5%. The DAX is flat as a pancake. No change there. Nikkei was up 0.5%. China was flat as a pancake as well, as was Hong Kong, up 0.2%. So not a lot of volatility in the equity markets. You do have some in some other markets, but not in equities. And our market is in fuego. Looking at the different indices, you got the S&P, no problem there, up and away. The Q's the same thing. The Russell less so, but it looks like it wants to maybe pop here. And the big bugaboo has been the transport average, which had a really good day yesterday. Still below EMA support on the weekly, but it did get some EMA support on the daily. And then you have that news out of Southwest Airlines this morning, which was a pretty significant thing, saying that they're saying bookings are down because of the Delta variant. They gave some kind of profit warning. Stock's down $1, which it could be down a lot more. I was long the travel and leisure names heavy yesterday. I sold them all. I don't have a share. And if they act this well, I'm probably going to get back in, just looking for the right time. Okay. They should be down probably more than this, in my opinion. And the fact that they're not, I love bad news, good action. Let's see how the day progresses in that front. And I guess we'll see what happens, right? But I think that's pretty significant and something I'm going to watch very closely. Okay, so banks, Fed, we discussed. We have a lot of Fed governors, same kind of verbiage. They want to start sooner than later as far as tapering, but they want to go slow. I think that makes a lot of sense for everybody, okay, including the market. You know, take away the carrot slowly. China, they said something about today they want to go after monopolies. You know how I feel about the Chinese stocks. What, you know, I don't have to bash it every day, right? Crypto looks really strong. Oil in the trading range. The virus, you know, I think it'll, you know, work its way in, you know, around. It'll eventually go away, hopefully. We'll see. And then there's a new variant come. We just don't know. I mean, a lot of unknowns as far as the virus is concerned. But I clearly believe that we've learned to cope with it, and I don't think I don't think we're going to get a curveball that makes things terrible. I could be wrong, but that's my sense. Okay. Especially the way these stocks are acting. Certainly the market doesn't sense it. The dollar we discussed, let's look at Mr. Market yesterday. So Mr. Market yesterday played right into my wheelhouse, okay? Clear delineation between stocks, opening stocks, and the stocks that have been doing well during COVID. Very clear, the ones that had been doing well got sold. The ones that benefit on the economy opening up ripped, and I was super busy, made a lot of money, and got flat at the end of the day because there's just no continuation. There's not a lot of continuation. So, I mean, you could pick individual stocks that act well, like a Nucor, that was just outstanding, but to play the group rotation one day to the next, it's hard. And if it worked, I'd do it, but it hasn't been working, so I'm not doing it. But anyway, so on the long side, you had the banks, insurance, machinery, you had the home builders, retail, big oil, airlines. Can't even, my handwriting is so freaking bad. I can't even read my own handwriting, which is a little sad. Oil stocks, and that's it. And on the short side, you had high PE tech, Bitcoin, semis, China, FANGs, HMOs, and biotech. Okay, so it just played into my hand. What can I tell you? Okay, so that was yesterday. What do I think today? Bonds up a bunch. All right, I'm sorry. The S&Ps are up. I think the CPI number, people were a little concerned about that. So that's kind of sort of out of the way. And then you have the Jackson Hole thing on August 26th, 28th. So I think we have a kind of like a 2-week reprieve from, the market getting spooked out. So I think that's a real positive, and I think the market just exhaled, and that's why the futures are up. Okay, so that's that. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to see what else was going on today. So we discussed love. Okay, earnings that were good. We had UPST, Fubo, Coin, MRVI, PUBM, Skin. That was the one run by the guy who ran AbbVie. Okay, who sold to AbbVie, I should say. So that one's been pretty hot. Docs, Wendy's, DAR, JANI. Those are the positives. The Fulcrum, FULC is doing a stock offering, but everybody's recommending it this morning. CRNX is doing an offering as well. Nicolac bought Avast for $8 billion. Boeing announced that they did that test flight in China on that 737 MAX. So I'm still long Boeing, and I'm going to stay with this puppy. All right, I've gone over that with you guys a bunch of times. What else? Short side, what was crappy? WW, okay? That's my point about playing earnings, guys. Guys came in the other day, bought the hell out of WW calls, obviously thinking the numbers would be good. Wrong, okay? You can't, you could do whatever you want, but for me, I don't play earnings, okay? I tried to buy a out of the money butterfly. I bid what I thought was a normal price, a fair price, which was 60 cents for, I think it was the 35, 40, 45 butterfly. They didn't sell it to me. Okay, thank you. You did me a favor. Stock's down today. It's really tough playing, the earnings, okay? Very tough. And I don't advise it, okay? But you do what you want. I mean, I can only tell you what I do. And every smart trader that I've ever seen does, and that's not play earnings, okay? You want to invest in a company, you have to hold it through earnings. You want to trade a company, you can avoid that, okay? So WW, ePay, Perigo. Perigo's acted great, okay? Look, bang, down $6. Stock's been a monster. It looked like it was going to break out. Not so fast, right? Playboy was crappy. Posh, LUV we discussed. And Goose was kind of soft, and that was it on the short side. Tonight, who's reporting? You got this Dibs, Blink, Stock We Trade, Bumble and Bumble, or it's just Bumble. I'm thinking of like a shampoo line, I think. Bumble, Clove, CPNG. Look at this CPNG, guys. This was that foreign company that they compared to Google. What was it? An Amazon? I think it was like Amazon. I just want to point something out with this thing, okay? CPNG profile. Okay, so they're based in Korea, and it's like Amazon, okay? Right. Okay, so look at this stock, okay, when it came public and whatnot. This is the Wall Street marketing machine in full operation mode, okay? They pump this thing like it's the second coming, all right? Get everybody hot and bothered, all right? They get their institutional clients in, they get their institutional clients out at like 65 bucks or whatever they sold it at. And the rest of us are wearing this piece of crap, all right? You understand something. Wall Street is a business, and their business is to make money for their clients, and they don't give a damn about you, all right? So as good as the company may be, it doesn't matter. It's all about value, all right? And they tried to ram this thing, you know, as high as they could by marketing the crap out of it. And anybody who invested in this stock is probably down money. So be really careful and mind, and you really have to understand how Wall Street works, okay? They are not your friend, okay? They're in here to make money for themselves, and that's it. All right, so that's my point on that. So anyway, CPMG's reporting, DM, which has been a pig. I thought it would be a lot better. That's the one Leg Mason guy was pumping up. eBay, Fossil, BEKE, NEO reports tonight. And tomorrow, prior to the opening, we have CSIQ, GoodRx, OGN, which is that spinoff from Merck, SELB, a stock I've owned for a long time. Obviously, I'll hold it through earnings, right? Because it's an investment position, UTS and UP, okay? So that's what's coming out. Let's go to research. Okay, LTHM was reiterate the sell. The guy's wrong, period. Albemarle, reiterate the sell, same analyst. He had a 140 target. He raises the target to 208, and the stock's 239. And the guy's got his head in his tuchus, as far as I'm concerned. Been dead wrong, and that's life. Okay, this TLIS, the drug got pushed out a little bit, so that was downgraded by JP Morgan. Space, Morgan Stanley has not liked this stock. They go from an equal weight to a sell. They do not change the target, which is 25 bucks, and the stock's down a little bit. Okay, they downgraded LHX on price. Do never focus on a downgrade on price. Okay, you'll not be able to make any money on that one. I've tried a million times. ARCT neutral to sell, rally unwarranted. That's Goldman Sachs. DRNA, they downgrade that one. They reduced the target from 36 to 25. And I think that's it on the short side. Let me see. Oh, when WW was downgraded by Jefferies, target 30, buy to hold. Okay, that's it. Long side, FULC, I'm long a little bit of this, equal to outperform. Target goes from what, up to 34, I think from 12 over at Morgan Stanley. Let me make sure of that. Yes, 12 to 34. So a lot of guys like this stock. It was upgraded by Morgan Stanley. It was upgraded by Credit Suisse. And so that's that. And they have a secondary coming, but no one seems to care. Right? It hasn't come yet, right? I don't think it's come yet. Let's double check. No, not yet. Okay. Splunk upgraded by UBS. This is significant. They take the target from 137 to 175. So they really like this one. Let's look at the chart and see if it's worth playing. I think it might be. It'll be on my radar this morning. Deutsche Bank upgraded these private equity firms, BX, KKR, and CG, pretty significantly. Hold to buy on all three. Target goes from 103 to 135 at BX. Stock's 113. KKR to 75 from 69. Stock's 65. And CG goes from 153 to 150. From 53 to 58, stocks 47. Okay, these stocks pay really nice yields, and they have growth. So when those of you who ask me what's a decent yield play, this is the kind of name that I kind of like. A stock that has both growth and yields. Okay, so those three. Coles, they like this one. They raised the target from 67 to 73. I'm still with Deutsche Bank here. Stock's 54th, so that's a significant raise. Foot Locker 68 to 72, but they only have a hold on the stock, which is a little weird. Target 56. The retailers that I like are BBWI, AEO, and Gap, and I also like the Capri Holdings. Okay. What else? Skin, a couple of guys upgraded this one. Raised their target at Piper to 27 from 24, and that's on earnings. And at Benchmark, they raised the target to 25. This was the biggest target raise I saw, as far as the price versus where it's trading. FYBR at a Benchmark. I'm not really keen on their research, but they raised the target from 40 to 56. Stock's $30. It is a recent IPO, so I don't play those recent IPOs, but if you choose to, that's your business. Initiate Zev, a stock that we were all trading yesterday, target 17 at Davidson. Letter U, this one, Piper. I just don't like Piper's research, but they take the target from 150 to 152. Stock's 107. That's significant. I don't see and BBWI, the name I like, target 85, upgrade to outperform at Baird. This one I like. This one I may play. Okay, if the retailers look okay, this would be a go-to stock for me. GXO, a stock that I'm long still. Initiate outperform target 78 at Wells Fargo. And the last but not least, Citibank likes this upstart. They had earnings, neutral to buy, target goes to 205, stock's 135. That's significant as well. Okay, so the ones that intrigue me are the upstart, the Coles. I will watch FYBR, but I'm not certain to play it. I don't know. Maybe Splunk, and that's it. Okay. Kathy, she bought TKNG. She bought 35,000 of that. SRNG, she continues to buy. She bought 3 million yesterday, another 2 million last night. Yesterday, I should say. TSP, she bought 1 million of that. Zillow, she bought 340. MKFG, she buys every day. She bought another 300,000 of that. Vuzi, she bought a fair amount of that one. And SGFY on the sell side, she sold names that, when they rally and she pieces them out like Docu or Square or Netflix, I ignore it. So I don't see anything really significant on the sell side for her. And that's really it. We have 4 secondaries, no IPOs, 3 secondaries, no IPOs. And we have 2 more IPOs slated for the week, but they've been a lot of cancellations. So that may continue. And we have 3 secondaries slated to come. Okay, and that's it, guys. Let's have a good day. And I'm going to give it back to Spartan. And my man, it's all yours.
Yep. All right. Thanks, guys. Morning. What's going on? Alrighty, guys. So let's take a look at what we got going on today. Let's see what we got going on in regards to pre-market tickers on watch. What do we got? So everything's posted in regards to the pre-market action plan here. So posted, you can actually pause it on YouTube, if you're watching it, you can read through it. You can see all the charts, the action plan, yada, yada. There's all the FANG charts. Alrighty. And let's also show you the option side as well. All right, cool. So let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. Coin, Wix, UPST, Fubo, WW, Mogo. Coin, earnings beat, EPS and revs, multi price target upgrades as well. Stocks gapping up. Wix, earnings beat, EPS and revs, year-over-year growth, 34%. Q3 guidance lowered. Stocks, 2021 guidance lowered as well. Stocks trading lower. UPST, earnings beat, EPS and revs, Q3 guidance raised, 2021 guidance raised. Stocks gapping up. Fubo, earnings in line. EPS and rev beat, year-over-year growth 196.3%. Weight Watchers, earnings miss, EPS and revs, year-over-year growth negative 6.7%. Mogo, company reported Q2 sales of 13.7 million, up from 762 million year-over-year, and raised Q4 subscription and service revenue growth from 80 to 100% to 100 to 110%. Stocks gapping up on that. One sec, guys. All right, let's take a look at what we got going on today. Coin and Wix. Coin 277.88, pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold. 282.27 to 286.67 will be tested. Unable to hold. Look for a pullback to 267.69 to 259.77 on the downside. Overall on coin, leaning bullish neutral. Looking for a continuation push higher today. Wix 233.81, pivot. Unable to hold. Room towards 223.61 on the downside. That level breaks. We can see the 213.12 level tested. Able to hold. 242.37 to 255.35. Leaning bearish. Neutral on that name, looking for a pop topping to take the name on the short side today. Let's take a look at the next two names. UPST and Fubo. UPST, whoops. 166.04. That level is able to hold. 173.22 will be tested. That level breaks. 180.95 on the upside. Unable to hold, you look for a pullback into the 158 to 151.66 on the downside. Overall on UPST leaning bullish, going to be leaning bullish, looking for a continuation higher. All right, let's take a look at Fubo. 32.71 pivot, levels able to hold. 33.77 to 35.24 will be tested. Unable to hold. 31.61 to 30.76 on the downside. Overall on Fubo, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today. Looking for a continuation grind higher if that pivot can hold. Pivot's going to be the key level to be watching out the gate on that name. Let's take a look at WW. Let's take a look at Mogo. WW 24.25 pivot, unable to hold. 22.38. That level breaks. We got room for a continuation towards the 52 level on the downside. Levels able to hold. 25.72 to 27.51. Sorry, 27.50 on the upside will be tested. Overall on WW, leaning bearish, looking for continuation lower. Mogo 695 pivot, levels able to hold. 750 to 795 on the upside will be tested. Unable to hold. 655 to $6 on the downside. Overall on Mogo, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a hold of that pivot, continuation grind higher out the gate this morning. All right, let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG, guys. All right, SPY. Let's see here. So SPY 442.80. Pivot to the upside today. This level holds. Room higher into the 443.74 resistance, breaks. We see the 440, 42 level tested. Pivot unable to hold. And lower into the 442.08 support. Breaks. We see the 441.03 tested. Leaning bullish, but looking for pullback, then facing a pullback from Curdle, I should say. Typically, when you get these gap up days, guys, you do get a little bit of a pullback out the gate. I mean, we haven't had a follow through day on a gap up in a while, and it's certainly possible. And we'll see if it happens today because we are at all-time highs. But typically, these types of names or these types of pops, you get a little bit of profit taking out the gate, and then we can look for that curl and continuation after. But you know, we'll have to wait and see what happens. That's my notion, is a little bit of a pullback just from previous recent you know, pushes to the upside on the open or pre-market, and then we can look for that curl. See what happens. Anyways, that's a SPY. Let's take a look at Apple. Apple pivot to the upside today is going to be that 140, 146.33 level holds, 147.02 to 148.07. Unable to hold 145.10, 144.22 on the downside, leaning bullish, flagging on the daily, looking for a continuation push higher today. Let's take a look at Amazon. Amazon pivot to the upside today is going to be the 33.20.17 level holds, 33.41, unable to hold 32.89 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Apple, Amazon going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today, looking for a continuation lower. Let's take a look at Netflix. Netflix pivot to the downside today. 518.72, unable to hold 515.52 to 511.53, able to hold, look for pushback to 521.84 to 526.83 on the upside. Overall, Netflix is going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side, looking for a retest of that pivot point today. Let's take a look at Facebook. Oh, wow. Did we freeze here? That's always good. No, I can do this then. Not a big deal. I'll just do the rest of the thing then. Facebook, because I got to reload. 362.46 pivot level holds, 365.13 to 371.25. Unable to hold 360.32, 358.12 on the downside. And on that name, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a retest of the recent range pivot. And then lastly, guys, Google pivot 27.39.13 level holds, moving towards 27.62. Unable to hold 27.13 on the downside. And then overall on Google leaning bullish as well, looking for it to stair step higher back towards all-time highs. So that's a SPY, that's a FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. I'm going to go ahead and we'll close down the YouTube stream. If you have any questions, you can go to spartantrading.com. Otherwise, thanks for joining us.